Hi friends, happy Tuesday. Mrs. Frank, I'm here again, here with you for math today. I hope yesterday you had a good review and things were starting to click again. Today you are going to be needing your yellow student book as well as a pencil. And I quickly want to remind us about how we started our math lesson yesterday. So talking about how to make sure you have a successful day of virtual learning. So make sure you're in a space where you can focus and make sure that you don't have distractions like cell phones, tablets, things like that around you while you're learning. And then also just a reminder that as we forge ahead here, we're learning new materials, we're practicing some skills in new ways. If you're feeling stuck or confused or frustrated, go ahead and let those feelings go and just pause your video, rewatch the video, notice where am I starting to get confused, and then always reach out if you're really feeling stuck or you have questions, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Right now in your student book, I would like everyone to turn to page 213, I believe. 213. So this is where we left off before spring break. Remember, we were counting and planning the number of tiles that were going to be in the pool border, so around the pool in gray tiles, as well as the pool tile or the pool water tiles, so those were the white tiles. So looking here on my graph, this was on page 213, where you actually then graphed out how many tiles were in each arrangement. So right now, compare my graph to your own and make sure that we have things lined up. And what I mean by that is make sure that what I have on my graph is matching what you have on your graph, because that's going to make sure that your coordinate pairs are correct on this coordinate grid. So looking here, I went ahead and I made my pool border tiles, my pool border points in red, and then the pool water in blue. And once you've had a chance to compare my grid to your own, let's just go ahead and take a look for any patterns we're noticing and think about any observations that you could make. Now, if we were in class right now, I would say turn and talk to a partner about what you notice. Obviously, we're not in class. So instead, I'm really going to put it on you to pause the video, take a look at this graph, and think about what am I noticing, okay? So now that you've had a second or a chance to think about that, let's talk through a couple of things that you might have noticed and things that I saw. Looking first at my pool border tiles. So remember that the arrangement number is here on my x-axis, and then on the y-axis, what we are tracking is the number of tiles. So in arrangement 1, there were 8 border tiles, and then in arrangement 2, there were 12, arrangement 3, 16, and so on. Something I noticed when I was listing these borders is that every time, or the tiles for the border, every time we had a new arrangement, the tiles increased by 4. And I see that here going from 8 to 12, 12 to 16, 16 to 20, and so on. So it's almost like every time I went over 1 on my x-axis and then up 4 on my y. Now keep in mind that there isn't a space here where 11 is labeled, so I say 4 because we went from 8 to 10 and then 10 to 12, right? But it only shows 2 spaces on my x-axis. But yeah, every time I went over 1 and up 4, over 1, up 4. And that was the pattern that this followed. If I were to connect these lines, which I'm actually going to attempt to do right now, I'm noticing connect these dots, I notice that they make a straight line. Since every time I went over 1, up 4, over 1, up 4, when I connect those dots, like you've been doing in some of the practice problems, it makes a very straight line. Now comparing that to my blue dots for the pool water, it seems like the blue tiles increased at a much faster rate, or they increased really quickly. And what I mean by that is here I went 1, 1, then arrangement 2 had 4 tiles, then all of a sudden from 4 tiles it went to 9 tiles, then all of a sudden from 9 tiles to 16. And then here on the 5th arrangement, the number of tiles in the pool water even went past how many tiles were in the pool border. So at the 5th arrangement, we had more pool water tiles than we had border tiles. And looking back in my workbook at the page where we first saw these arrangements, I could see that in arrangement 5, there clearly are more white tiles than gray tiles. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect these dots and think about what I'm noticing as I connect them. All right. Ooh, my line's getting a little curvy, but then it really curves, right? So like I was saying, with our pool water, the number of tiles all of a sudden increased at a increased by a lot more, and it didn't seem to be increasing by the same amount every time, right? So looking at this, and maybe you have some other observations that you noticed, but looking at these two lines that we have, I want to talk about 2 vocabulary words that we can link to these. So the first is a linear pattern. So a linear pattern means that the values increase at an even rate, and an example of this would be our pool border graph. It's graphed in a straight line, and we know that every time we added 4 tiles. So this is a linear pattern because it increased at an even rate. It increased by 4 every time. Now a nonlinear pattern would be the example of our pool water tiles. So the values increase by a different amount each time, and the pool water is graphed in a curve line. Now my line got a little bit wavy as well, but overall you can see that it curves up instead of at that constant straight line like the linear. So nonlinear, we are increasing by different amounts every time. And linear, it is increasing by the same amount every time. Okay, so keep these words with you, carry them with you as we continue on. And now we're going to move on to a new problem that we have not addressed yet. So go ahead and open up your student book to page 217. So go to page 217. And first, I just want you to listen as I read out this problem. You can follow along in your own workbook, but we're going to take a look at Anthony and a problem that he's having here. So Anthony is a junior in high school. He decided to get a job this summer so he could put some money in his college savings account. His goal was to put $1,000 into his account, but still have time to rest up before school started. So far I know Anthony is trying to save some money over the summer for college, and his goal is to put, let's see here, his goal is to put $1,000 into his account, but that he wants to still have time to rest up, to enjoy his summer before school starts again. Okay, so he's a very good math student who loves computers, and he was lucky to be offered a summer job with 2 different software companies. And Anthony must have been working really hard to get those 2 offers from 2 different companies that he's interested in. So let's keep going here. Company 1 offered to pay Anthony $1 on the first day and then double the amount each day. So on the first day, he gets $1, and then that $1 doubles and he has $2 on the next day. Then that $2 doubles 2 times 2, and he has $4 on the third day. And then on the 4th day, that $4 doubles, so he would make $8. So, and that continues on every day. Now, company 2 offered to pay Anthony a flat $75 every single day. All right, so what we know is Anthony is saving for college, and he wants to put $1,000 into his account, but still have time to rest up before school starts. I feel like that's important because otherwise they wouldn't have said it. And then we also know that he has a couple different offers. Company 1 is paying him $1 on the first day and then double the amount each day after that. Whereas company 2 is giving him just $75 every day. So every day he's making $75. Now let's go down to our question. Which job should Anthony accept if he wants to reach his goal of earning $1,000 as quickly as possible? Which job should Anthony accept if he wants to reach his goal of earning $1,000 as quickly as possible? All right, so the question is asking me, comparing these 2 jobs, which one should he accept if he wants to reach his goal, whoops, sorry, I wanted that in black, reach his goal of earning $1,000 as quickly as possible. So this must be what this still have time to rest up before school started means that he wants to earn $1,000, but once he reaches that $1,000, he is done working and he's going to enjoy his summer. Okay. So knowing that, let's go ahead and just quickly make our own prediction. Which job do you think Anthony should choose? And I want you to think to yourself, and somewhere on page 217, maybe at the top, maybe next to the 2 company offers, I want you to star or jot down which company do you think is going to get him that $1,000 the fastest. And I'm going to think of my idea as well. All right. Do you have an idea? I was thinking company 2, just because $75 is a lot more than $1, even on day 1. But now whatever you thought, whichever company you were leaning towards, we're going to do the math to find out which one is the best option for making $1,000 as quickly as possible. Okay, so right now you will see me filling in the first part of our table up to day 5. And I would like you to do the same thing following along on page 218, okay? If you're feeling pretty good about this once we get started, feel free to pause the video, fill in through day 5 on your own, and then come back and just check your work. But otherwise, stick with me and I'm gonna walk us through it, okay? So looking at each payment plan, company number 1's payment plan, I have days through 5, the daily amount of dollars that he's earning, as well as a running total of dollars. So this is what he would have in his savings account at the end of each of those days. So let's start with company 1 here. On day 1, he made $1. So the total amount he could put into his savings is $1. And on day 2, he made $2 more. So he made $2 because our $1 doubled, right? 1 times 2. Now the running total is going to be what he already had in his savings account plus the new amount that he made that day. So what he already had in his savings account was $1. He made $2 more on day 2. So now I know 1 plus 2, he has a total of $3 in his account. Now looking at day 3, his $2 doubles again, 2 times 2. And so now he has a total of $4, or he earned a total of $4 on day 3. My new running total, I'm going to add what he already had plus the $4. So I know now he has $7. Looking at day 4, his $4 doubled, and now he has, and I should write it like this. Now he has $8 that he earned on day 4. Our running total, we're going to add 7 plus 8 to get to $15. All right, so now we're to day 5. On day 5, our $8 is going to double again. 8 times 2. He made $16 on day 5. Now I'm going to add my running total amount plus this $16. And Anthony on day 5 from job 1 has a total of $31 in his savings account, or he would have that. All right, not bad. Let's go over to company 2's payment plan. Again, I have the days 1 through 5, the daily amount that he's earning. So what is he earning on day 1? What's he earning on day 2? And then we are going to fill in our running total in dollars together. Okay, so on day 1, he earned $75. So what does he have in his savings? $75. On day 2, he earned another $75. And just like we did in company 1's plan, we're going to take our total in our savings account, or in his savings account, and add it to what he earned on day 2. So 75 plus 75. Now I could go ahead and jot this out on paper, but I'm kind of thinking through that this would be a really good opportunity to use my quarters strategy. So thinking about $75 as quarters, and that would be 3 quarters or 75 cents, and then adding it to another 3 quarters. So a total of 6 quarters, I know, is going to make $1.25, or excuse me, $1.50. $1.50 for him to have a total of $150 in savings. So then on day 3, he made another $75, $1.50 plus 75 more cents, or 150 plus 75 is going to get him to $225 in his savings. Now on day 4, he makes 75 more dollars. I know that 225 plus 75, or $2.25 plus 75 cents, is a total of 300. And then on day 5, How much will he make today, team? Yep, $75 again. 300 plus 75 is 375. All right. Looking at how much he made at the end of 5 days, it's pretty obvious that so far company 2 is kind of standing out as the way to go, right? Compare that to what you predicted. And now think about if he's trying to reach $1,000 total, right? No matter what job he takes, he's going to try to make $1,000 in a savings account. Do you still think that he should go with company 1 or company 2? Or are you maybe changing your mind? I feel like company 2 is the obvious way to go, but I'm interested to see what happens as we continue to double those numbers or double the amount he's making for company 1. So what we're going to do now, team, is that we're going to practice graphing the first 5 days together in an app called Pear Deck. Okay, so some of you, I say Pear Deck, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've used it before. Others of you, like those in my math class, we have not used this before. So this is a brand new tool for us. So stick with me. But what you'll be doing is that you will go ahead and continue to fill in both of these payment plan tables until you reach $1,000, okay? So keep in mind that you will likely reach $1,000 on a different day for company 1, then you'll reach $1,000 for company 2, right? So what I'm saying is that stop when you reach $1,000 in that running total for both jobs, and that's as far as you'll graph, okay? Because if he's going to stop working when he makes $1,000, we don't need to continue on past that. Now, thinking about these totals, we already saw that company 2, we're getting up into some higher numbers, and eventually we will get to $1,000. Team, feel free to write down your work, but also you can use a calculator to create these totals if you need some help as you're going through, okay? So right now, I want everyone to make sure they have page 218 and page 219 near them. So page 219, we are going to go to Pear Deck, but here's an example of what we'll be looking at. So we'll be graphing both payment plans. Together, we'll graph days 1 through 5 for both, and then you'll finish the rest on your own along with finishing that table. So on my y-axis, I can see that we are going with the total amount of money earned, or the dollars, and then on my x-axis, I'm keeping track of the days. So with that, I'm going to pause and take us over to Pear Deck. You will find the link in today's math lesson plans from your teachers, okay? So stick with me. I'm going to pause and bring up that lesson plan document, and then we'll get started on Pear Deck. All right, here we are. So even though I'm going to show you how to graph the first 5 points on Pear Deck, I would like you to do this on page 219 in your workbook, because that way you can watch the video, follow along, and record the first 5. And then it will be up to you if you want to finish the graph on paper or if you just want to use Pear Deck, okay? So for those who have used this before, this is a little bit of a review, but everyone else, this is going to be new. So you'll go to your lesson plans for today for math. This is what mine for my class looks like. You'll go to joinpd.com and then open this link. Now on that lesson plan, there's also a code that you're going to need. So you need to remember this code or be able to flip back to it once this loads. All right. Okay, so the code that I need is ASXNH. ASXNH. Okay, it automatically starts to connect me once I have that entered. And I think for those who haven't used Pear Deck, you're going to see how awesome of a tool this is for us for math. You can do a lot here. So for those of you who have used this before, some of this might be a little bit of a review. So I apologize, just stick with me. And then for those who haven't used it, make sure you're listening carefully. So you might be greeted with a question like this. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling great because I am here with you all planning math. And then we're going to start. So if you compare this first slide to the page 219, you're going to see similarities because it's the same. Just kind of looking at our page here, we have the total number of slides listed right down here. So this is slide 1 of 4. When I'm done with this slide, I will click this to go to the next one. You can always go back if you need to finish something or add more, okay? Here I have a pencil, a highlighter, a straight line, text, and an eraser. And then for each of these options, you can choose which color you'd like it to be in, okay? This sizer is going to be important because when we are putting our dots on the graph or on the grid, you will see that you're going to want it down at the bottom to graph some of these points, okay? So I'm just going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. But my instructions, or our instructions at the top, say graph the running totals for each day, then answer the question below. Some of you might not have this question below part, and that's okay. You're just going to graph it, okay? Graph each plan in a different color, and be sure to mark the key as well. This is going to let us, your teachers, know and also help you keep track of which plan is being shown and which dots go together, okay? So I'm going to stick with my colors red and blue. And plan number 1, I am going to go ahead and graph in red. Now plan number 1, and I'm looking back at my table on page 218, is when every day the dollar amount doubled. So on day number 1, he made $1. You all see what I'm seeing about the numbers on my y-axis? Yeah, it goes up by 50s. So to graph these dollar amounts that we're starting with in payment plan 1, that's why you want your sizer to be at the teeny tiny spot so that you can actually see a little bit better what's happening. So on day 1, he made $1, which I'm going to put kind of right at the bottom. Day 2, $2. I'm not going to change the place too much. I'm going to keep it right in that same area. Day 3 was $4. I'm trying to increase a little bit, but it's hard to do. And I'll zoom a little bit more. Day 3 was $4. Day 4 was $8. And finally on day 5, we start to see a bit of an increase when he got to $16. So half of 50, 25, 16 is kind of close. I'm going to put it near the halfway mark. All right. So, and I forgot to mark my spot here. Plan 1 is red. Now I'm going to graph plan 2. So plan 2, I'm going to quick fill in my key with blue. And now on plan 2, he made $75 every day. But what I am putting, or what I am tracking on my graph, isn't how much he makes every day. It's how much he has in his running total or how much he has in his savings. So I'm pulling my information for my y-axis from that very third column that says running total in dollars, okay? So for plan number 2, now I'm looking at plan 2 on my table. On day 1, on my x-axis, I'm going over to day 1. He made $75, so I'm going to go up until on my y-axis I reach 75, which I know to be right here between 50 and 100. Then on day 2, in his running total, so I'm going over to day 2 again, he now has $150 because he made another $75 working that day. And 150 is right here on my y-axis, so now I put it there. On day 3, in his running total, he added another $75 to 150. So now I'm going to go up to 150, add 75 more dollars, which I know is going to be $225. Day 4, another $75 adding on to my 225 is going to be right at an even 300. And then on day 5, so going to day 5 on my x-axis, on my y-axis, I'm pulling that running total number of $375, and that is where I'll put these. All right. So when you are done with that, if you do not have this question here, you should jot this answer down on, take that back, forget what I just said. When you are done plotting those 5 days on, I want you to go back to your table, finish filling it in until your running total reaches $1,000 for each, okay? Then you need to come back to your Pear Deck and graph both of those lines. So complete your graphs here for days 6, 7, whatever you need to go up to until you reach $1,000 that he's saved. Now, if you don't have this question here when you're done, when you can figure out which company's plan turned out the best, you'll write this answer on page 217 in your book. If you have this here, then you can just type your answer here. For me, I would use the text option and click so that I can write he should choose plan blank. I'll let you decide that, okay? So when you are done with this and you've answered that question, I want you to go to the next slide. Before we move on though, team, are you notice anything about our lines here? Those vocabulary words that we talked about first, linear and nonlinear. I'm noticing that one line is looking like, or one pattern is looking like if I connected these to be a pretty straight linear pattern, whereas this one is starting to gradually curve up. So maybe nonlinear, going up by different amounts. Let's see if that is similar to our pool tiles or not as we go through. But when you are done, you're going to work on the problems that are from your workbook page 220. However, we want you to complete them in the Pear Deck. So after you complete this slide, after you complete the Anthony's problem, you're going to click next here. And now you go to the next slide. This is the same, the next 3 slides or 4 slides you might have are the same problems from page 220. If you prefer, you can solve them on paper first and then transfer your work in here. But what we're going to do is have you record your work in Pear Deck instead of taking a picture of your work and posting it in your presentation, because this is just a much clearer way for us to see what you were able to do, okay? So here you're going to solve. Miranda made a number pattern. She started with 4, added 3 several times, continue her pattern. You just need to continue her pattern here. The same thing on problem 3. There's a new pattern, but you need to continue and finish it here. And then this next slide, some of you have it split into 2 slides. In my case, this is just on 1. So Miranda then graphed one of her patterns. So you're looking back at the first 2 slides about Miranda's patterns before this. She graphed one of those patterns here. Which pattern did she graph, her first or her second? Some of you have this question on the next slide, okay? Once you've answered that, then you need to label the ordered pairs that Miranda graphed. I was thinking at first that I would write in those ordered pairs, but I think it might be easier to add a text box. So I'm going to click here, and remember when you list an ordered pair, you do a parenthesis, which is if you hold down Shift over the number 9, and you type first the number that's on your x-axis. So if I look at the x-axis, this one is at 1, so I type 1, and then I have a comma and a space. And then on the y-axis, that's the next coordinate that's listed, it's up at 30, so I have 30. There, I did the first one for you, okay? But you will go ahead and label each of the pairs here. Then you need to graph and label the ordered pairs in the other pattern. So whichever pattern's not represented here, you'll graph that pattern and label those as well. All right, for those who haven't used Pear Deck yet, once you finish this, you are done. You can close out of it. It automatically saves for your teacher to see, so you don't have to submit it or anything. You are just done after that, okay? So team, please rewatch the video if you have questions, reach out to your teacher, reach out at home if you have questions or you're feeling confused, okay? Let's have a fantastic week, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks all.